Okay, let's see. I just want to get back to, like, clowning on people about this fucking AI thing, right? Like, is that so hard to ask? I'll probably have to put this in... I'll probably have to put this in a video editor to edit this entire section out, because this is detracting from the entire thing I'm trying to do here. What the fuck are you on about? What? Fushizi, what are you on about? Okay, there we go. We're back on YouTube. I fucking hate YouTube. YouTube, stop doing your is that bullshit, right? I understand. I fucking hate YouTube so much. Anyway, it should be as easy to set up a live stream on YouTube as it is on Twitch. This is fucking absurd. Anyway, so back where we were. Where the fuck were we, right? Okay. Okay, yeah, so, but you asked what makes it inferior to a real Monet. So let's be honest with the breakdown. What's missing? The physical object. All right. I'm gonna... Hello, Captain Rudy. You missed a bit of scuff just a moment ago, right? Setting up your Twitch, excellent, you know, Godspeed with that, Quatico, right? So let's see what he says about this, because, I don't think that this will stand up to scrutiny, but let's give the devil his due, right? A real Monet is a thing before it's an image. Well, there's a non-statement if ever I heard one. This is the biggest gap, and it's not solvable by better prompting. Okay. No impasto. Monet loaded paint thick. His water lily pads sit physically on top of the canvas. You can see the ridges where the brush dragged. The little peaks where the pigment piled up. Look at the... Okay, so he's talking about the three-dimensionality of the actual painting itself. Look at the lily pads in your image. They're smooth, tonal gradients pretending to be brushstrokes. A real one would catch raking light differently from the water around it. I hate to tell him this. I'm pretty sure I see literal textures. I'm pretty sure I see literal brushstroke textures on this piece. I don't know, maybe, you know, my uncle was a painter, so it's like, you know, I've had to see his paintings before, but, I'm just saying, I don't know, man, but, maybe not on the grasses per se, right, but, if you look at the lily pads themselves, I'm pretty sure I see around them, actual, like, textures that he's exactly referring to. Even across, even at the top, if you look right there, at the top right-hand corner, I see, you can't see my mouse, which is really annoying. I probably should have made my mouse visible, but yeah, I think I see exactly what he says is not there. Hello, Raiju Tama. Yeah, you missed a little bit of scuff. Anyway, where the hell was I? Yeah. So, Captain Rudy says, okay. I'm not reading that. He also says, I know, just got the new YouTube notification now. Fair enough, right? So, I'm making fun of people trying to be a little bit too highbrow for their own sake, and then getting absolutely blasted for it, right? Blasted not by the anyone in particular, but by reality itself, right? So, no canvas weave. Monet painted on linen with a specific tooth that broke up his strokes and let underlayers peek through. Your image has a uniform digital surface. The texture, quote-unquote, is illusionistic, painted onto the pixels rather than emerging from the substrate. Oh boy, did that not... Oh boy, did that actually not come out very well, right? But, yeah, I mean, obviously you could also say that just because it's a fucking photograph, right? Of course you're not going to see that on a photograph. But anyway, No drying history. Real Monets have cracks, areas where wet into wet bled, areas where dry paint was scrumbled over dry paint. Pigments age differently. His cobalt blues shifted. Funny enough, I think Cobalt Blue was the name of a band in, like a fictional band in the Witch series. Shifted. His mattered lakes faded. The image has no chronology in it. It's all painted at once. Anyone want to tell? Right? Like, oh yes, thank you. Yes, I got affiliated on Thursday. I was unable to stream on Friday, but yes, I literally just got affiliated. This is my first affiliated stream. Let's see. What's wrong with the marks themselves? Brushstroke direction is decorative, not descriptive. Oh, there's some airy words, right? Monet strokes do work. Vertical strokes for reflections of vertical things. Poplars, irises. Horizontal strokes for the water surfaces. Elliptical strokes that physically describe the floating disk of a lily pad. I think the word you're looking for is represent, not describe. What is this linguistic language you're using? In your image, the strokes are stylistically Monet-ish, but they don't consistently track what they're depicting. The reflections in the upper left, for instance, have stroke directions that don't quite resolve into a specific reflected object. Yeah, because it's a disturbance in the water. There's a disturbance, you can tell it's a disturbance in the water. Those don't tend to reflect the object in its whole, right? They tend to distort, they reflect, anyway. So, no hierarchy of finish. Monet had passages of intense detail next to passages of left almost raw. He'd finish a single lily blossom with 3 decisive touches and leave the whole quadrant of water as scumbled an understatement. AI tends to render everything at the same level of doneness. Your image is uniformly busy. I don't know about that. My eye definitely is drawn to a very specific area on this thing. So it's like uniform. So there is a definite hierarchy here. Because again, when I look at here, my eye goes to a very specific place on the piece. And like, I think everyone would agree, if you pay attention, where does your eye go first in the image? And I think we would agree it's not completely random, right? Like there is spots of higher and lower interest. See, he didn't read my chat out loud. He's learning, right? Ironically, as I read your chat out loud, you know, without actually reading it beforehand, right? Let's see. Edges are too soft everywhere. Real Monet had surprisingly hard edges in places. The rim of a lily pad against the dark water can be a single confident knife edge stroke. AI defaults to blending, looking at the pads in your foreground. Their edges dissolve gradually. Monet's often don't. By the way, M-dash. Now, granted, real people use the M-dash, right? There's a reason the AI uses the M-dash. Because it turns out the M-dash actually is something human beings use. Shocking, I know, right? But online, very few people. I use the M-dash, like, right? So, like, a hypocrite that thou art, right? But, and, you know, so does Kirsha, right? They actually use the M-dash as well. But, a lot of people, when they feed their writing through AI to get it to clean up their prose, will have M-dashes all throughout the text. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've already found 6 M-dashes. Now look, I use the M-dash, but I don't use it that much, right? If we're gonna now look, maybe this guy actually did write this all out and he wrote it this way, right? But I don't know, man. Maybe I should put this into a AI writing detector, right? Let's see. Okay, where was I? AI defaults to blending. Look at the pads in your foreground. Their edges dissolve gradually. Monets often don't. Color problem. I can't comment on this part because it turns out, again, I'm colorblind, so I can't exactly give you much feedback on this. The palette is plausible but generic. Monet's late Giverny palette was specific and slightly weird. Viridian, Cobalt Violet, French Ultramarine, Cadmium Yellow, Vermilion, Lead White. The unusual one is the Violet. He used Cobalt Violet aggressively, and it shows up in shadows where you wouldn't expect. Your image has some purple in the lily pad rims, which is the right instinct, but the violets aren't doing structural work the way Monet's do. A lot of this is vacuous gas, as we can tell. Anyway, no optical mixing. Monet placed unmixed complementary colors next to each other, so your eye blends them at viewing distance. Pure orange next to pure blue, reading as a luminous neutral. Your image has colors that are already pre-mixed into harmonious midtones. It's pleasant, but doesn't vibrate. I read a lot of people with flowery language and gassy prose. I'm going to be perfectly honest, right? Like, I've bitched about how Karl Marx writes in a very obfuscative way, right? I've complained about various people who write grimoire, like modern grimoires, posing as political, like, philosophy texts. And, like, again, how they write in very abstracted, non-concrete ways. And that in a specific way that, like, is completely obfuscative, doesn't actually explain anything. What the fuck did I just read? It's pleasant, but it doesn't vibrate. What the fuck are we talking about here, right? What is this? Right? Explain. Anyway, so. Let's see. The whites are wrong. Monet's whites are almost never white. They're tinted pink, blue, lavender. Well, I can't see pink either, so... yellow, depending on the light conditions he was chasing. The white lily in your upper left is closer to a true neutral than Monet would ever paint. The conceptual gap. At least he played along, right? He was asked for a real criticism, and, you know, he at least tried to give one. This is the part that actually matters, and the part no model will close. Oh, well, fucking irony. Monet was solving a problem. Each canvas in the Nymphias series is an answer to a specific question. What does this pond look like at 7 a.m. in August? Is that really a question? Is that really a question? Anyway, I mean, you can turn that into a question, but is that really a question when more likely he was actually just capturing beauty in nature, right? Just putting that out there. This sounds like someone reading into instead of reading out of a text. What happened to the reflection when the wind crosses the surface? Okay. The paintings are records of sustained looking at a real place he built and tended for 30 years. Your image is a style reference, not an observation. It's a painting of a Monet rather than painting of a pond. Okay. The irony is fucking... The irony here is delicious. Holy fuck. No hand, no decision, no risk. Okay. I love this troll so much. This is fucking brilliant. Every stroke in a real Monet was committed by a specific 80-year-old man with failing eyesight standing in a garden. The image has no author in that sense. The decisions are statistical averages of millions of images. What it does get right, worth saying. Now, I will say, if you ask an artist in the real world why it is he picked this line over this line, the answer is, it better completes the image. Right? Why did you pick this stroke? Because it better completes the image. That is really it. There is no particular deeper meaning other than they were trying to complete an image. The thing in whole, not in every individual piece, is necessarily meaningful. And I know this from experience, right? Like, when I started drawing, I would draw, and then people would come out too skinny, and I wouldn't like it, so I would draw over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Like, I would fiddle with every individual line until it finally reached a particular image that I particularly liked. If you were to ask me, why did I pick this line over any of the other lines when I was doing that, I would say it is more aesthetically pleasing. It is more to what I was trying to do than any of the other lines. And if you ask me to justify it any further than that, my choice would have been it simply looks better. It simply does what I'm trying to do more than the other lines, right? That's why I picked that line. But again, every single decision here apparently like has to be thought about with this with high degrees of precision. When in fact the majority of art, even like high end artists, a lot of people won't admit this, but a lot of art is also statistical. Sometimes there will be an accident, and then we'll just fucking go with it, right? It's like, hold on, I can make something out of this, even though this isn't necessarily what I intended to in the first place. A lot of artists will not admit to how much some of their pieces are defined by it was a happy accident. But anyway, so this wanking besides, right? Let's continue. The compositional asymmetry is good. The reflected verticals rendering as trees like irises is a smart move. The pink lilies in the lower foreground are placed with reasonable intuition. If you cropped tightly to a 6-inch square anywhere in this image, it would pass a quick glance. The tell is always scale and surface. Stand 6 inches from a real Monet and it dissolves into chaos. Slabs of pigment that look like nothing. Stand 6 inches from this and it just looks like a slightly blurred version of itself. That collapse into abstraction upon up close is the thing you can't fake without paint. Wow, super comprehensive. Thank you. Notes suggesting context to be shown with the post. This is an actual Monet. Water lilies, circa 1915. Catalog number W1796. With possible color adjustment. Not purely AI generated one. OP is being misleading. The prank was ruined. But not before a lot of people fell for it. Fushizi. And artists wonder why we fucking hate them. It's not the art. Well, it depends on the artist. There are good artists out there. Conservative artists and libertarian artists tend to keep their head down because, again, having actually grown up in a family which actually helped the local art community, I can tell you right now, leftist artists are very corrosive, very generally speaking, right? They pull this kind of bullshittery, try to pretend like they understand your piece better than you understand it when you literally made it and made all the decisions regarding the piece, right? And sometimes they will point out something that is actually important. It's like, oh shit, I didn't think about that, but that's actually a good piece of mechanical observation, right? About how the piece actually works. But also, no, sometimes they do exactly this, where it's like, this is absolute fucking vanity right here, right? Anyway. Oh my god. And this is actually fucking great. So, the brilliance of this critique is that it accidentally exposes the central weakness of AI criticism itself. It mistakes the mythology of authorship for the perceptual reality of art. I mean, I think that's a good point, right? The text surrounds the authoritative because it deploys the language of connoisseurship, impasto, cobalt violet, optical mixing, drying history, series logic. But its authority collapses the instant you learn the image was actually painted by Claude Monet himself. Yeah. You know what? I might have to just do an AI reading of this entire thing because this is brilliant. But I'm gonna do this here now because I'm having a blast going through this Twitter feed. Oh my god, I haven't had this much fun going through a Twitter feed in a while. This might be the subject of this entire stream, to be perfectly honest, because I'm just having fun. Sorry. I know my taste is a little eclectic sometimes. The revelation transforms the critique from insightful analysis into a demonstration of automated pattern matching masquerading as aesthetic judgment. The critique is not wrong because its observations are technically false. Many are plausible. The problem is deeper. It performs recognition instead of perception. The essay begins with supreme confidence. This image is actually a very competent rendition. The sentence already reveals the machine logic underneath. The work is approached not as an artwork, but as a category laboratory membership test. The critic is not asking, what am I seeing? It is asking, how successfully does this resemble my statistical understanding of Monet? Fucking annihilated. Right? I keep telling people, it's like the machine doesn't think nearly as differently from a human being as you think it does, right? Yeah, sure, the machine thinks through token prediction, but what do you think your brain is doing when it's when it's going after, when it's making decisions about dopamine reception and serotonin reception, right? What do you think that it's doing with all those things when it's actually again, anticipating neurochemical response, reward systems? Yes, your brain works on token prediction as well. It's not the same kind of token prediction, but your brain does token prediction as well to help judge what it is it's going to do, in the near and far term. That's also where time preferences come in, right? Where do you get, which one gets you the most biological tokens? But anyway, so I'm gonna get a drink of my Pepsi. Oh my god. So, but yes. How successfully does this resemble my statistical understanding of Monet? Fucking bodied right here. Because he's fucking right. Like, it's like, artists can, it turns out, break away from the thing that they normally do, right? Every fucking artist does this. And this entire absolute self-masturbatory essay we just went through, like, it treats Monet as, like, again, sorry. So, anyway, hold on. I got a couple things in the chat. Fushizi says, fucking Christ, that was entirely fake and gay. Yes. Captain Rudy says, go figure. Fushizi, you don't say leftists are corrosive? Who would have thought? I mean, yeah, you have examples like Shoe on Head, right? But, there's a lot of leftists out there who are definitely corrosive and snakes. Because, again, the relatively conservative people helping the community, actually, like, they'll take the help from a rightist, but talk shit about your back, right? I saw that all the time, right? Especially because, being on the libertarian side of things, I've been called a leftist and I've been called a rightist, right? So, I've been called both things, so I got a window into that particular dual-sided conversation. Turns out the right-wing artists treated the left-wing artists better than the left-wing artists treat the right-wing artists. Oh, again, pattern recognition, right? It's you who's bad for noticing. But anyway, long story short, so I am very well aware also that, like, a lot of people, unless they know that you're on, like, the outside of the ideological, like, Gramscian controlled section of the arts, they won't talk about politics as, like, how they really feel, or even philosophy or religion as they really feel, unless they feel as if you're safe to talk around, because, again, some of these people go for, like, reputation destruction. And, there's actually a decent chunk of people in the art community who keep their head down, but actually disagree with the mainstream art consensus. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, it's like telling the author of a book that that you understand the characters better than they do. I mean, it is theoretically possible if you're not a very mindful reader, but that being said, not a very mindful writer. That being said, you are correctly right? The vast majority of times, it's like, no, like, obviously, unless the writer has, like, no vision whatsoever that they're doing, the writer almost always knows what they're trying to do with the characters than, like, the reader is, because they're actually the ones making the piece, right? You have to be a particularly kind of absent-minded writer to actually fall into you actually don't understand what you're trying to do, right? But there are people who do fall into that. Captain Rudy says, imagine using AI to post a response to a critique that was made by AI to critique an image that someone claims to have made using AI. It's AIception, right? Again, right? Fushizi, I will not get off the fucking hill of AI thinking is human thinking just abstracted. There are some differences between AI cognition and human cognition, but it's not nearly as different as people think. I actually agree with Sabina Hossenfelder and Liquid Zulu on this thing in particular, right? I don't care that AI doesn't have the magical property of qualia that, by the way, you also can't define you can't really define in a concrete way, that you have to be, it's completely abstract definition, but, I digress, right? Kura says, this particular scenario is definitely getting a cameo. Oh my god. Go ham, man, right? Hey, okay, so let's get back to taking this fucker down, right? A human art historian in counting uncertainty would usually slow down. They would compare periods, provenance, pigments, dimensions, surface irregularities, photographic conditions, restoration artifacts, exhibition history, or reproduction quality. Human criticism begins with doubt. AI criticism begins with completion. The text proceed, and yes, you know what? Fair enough, right? I oftentimes have to ask myself, hold on, am I reading too much into this, right? So the text proceeds by inventing absences that cannot actually be verified from the image itself. For example, no impasto, no canvas weave, no drying history. Yeah. I wonder why I wonder why they did this. Cannot actually be verified. It's almost as if, again, they're avoiding responsibility for what they say, right? They're avoiding being held accountable for being a dumbass. Anyway, hold on. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, yeah, we're not living in a world where AI is self-aware and making its own independent choices. It's like Fushizi. Oh no, it has no soul. You can't prove I have a soul either. I mean, you kind of can with the human being. The soul is just, by definition, the vital principle of a living body. So, if you are alive, by definition, you have a soul, right? So it's like, dogs have souls if they're alive. Human beings have souls if they're alive. Cats have souls if they're alive. There's nothing in the word soul itself that actually indicates any kind of like afterlife or magical quality. From the Aristotelian definition, it is simply that which makes a body alive versus not alive. So, if you are alive, you have a soul, by definition. We're just taking on all of the magical properties that people usually ascribe to a soul. Let's see, Captain Rudy says, reminds me of the Geth in Mass Effect. Does this unit have a soul? Right. So, let's see. This sounds convincing until you realize the critic is evaluating a digital reproduction, not the physical object. Even genuine Monet reproductions flatten impasto and erase subtle surface qualities depending on lighting, compression, scan resolution, museum photography, or screen rendering. The critique speaks as though it has tactile access to the painting when it does not. Remember when I said, again, I can literally see the things that he's saying are not on here. For example, again, the ripple patterns. If you pay attention to the ripple patterns, you can literally physically see where the paint seems to actually, again, rise up, as he was talking about, like the height differences between like where the paint, how the paint is laid down on there. That's what I was thinking earlier, right? But again, guess what? That's going to be flattened out if you take a photograph, because it turns out you can't investigate the three-dimensional qualities of a photograph of a three-dimensional entity, right? I mean, maybe if you did like an electron microscope, like reproduction, but anyway. This is why maybe we should start working on 3D printers for paintings, right? You want to buy a realistic, down to the like angstrom reproduction of a Monet, right? let's get a 3D printer. Let's get a 3D printer and then paint the 3D printing, right? Oh my god. God, I am so interested to see where these technologies go. Anyway, where were we? The critique speaks as though it has tactile... we already said that. That is quintessential AI rhetoric. It converts limitations of evidence into certainty through stylistic fluency. Abso-fucking-lutely. This is con man epistemology, or con epistemology, right? Hold on. Hold on. Fushizi says, is the neural net alive then? No, the neural net is not alive. It does not have the functions, the properties of a living organism. That doesn't mean it doesn't think. A great achievement of the human being has been we literally taught rocks how to think. Fushizi's, let's see, says, by the way, I get... Oh, okay, Fushizi says, by the way, I can get thick as fuck impasto in my AI images if I want. Yeah, it turns out you can prompt for a lot of this stuff, right? Captain Rudy says, do it. Fushizi says, I already have. I used it in the Asmongold video heavily. Ooh, I'm going to have to check that out at some point. But we're going to get through this. Let's see. A human critic might say, the reproduction obscures the physical paint surface. The AI critique instead says, the surface does not exist. That leap from uncertainty to declaration is the tell. The most fascinating failure appears in the section about brushwork. The critique claims Monet's strokes are descriptive, while that painting strokes are merely decorative. But if the work actually is a Monet, then the analysis retroactively exposes itself as projection. The writer is not reading the marks themselves, it is reading expectation into them. Abso-fucking-lutely, right here. It is reading expectation into them. He is calling them out for doing eisegesis instead of exegesis. Fucking called it. I'm so glad someone else was writing this better than I could have, to be perfectly honest. Right? This is what AI systems do often do with art. They hallucinate intentionality from stylistic stereotypes. The essay contains an idealized internal model of a real Monet. Decisive edges, asymmetric finish hierarchies, structured violet uses, optical vibration. By the way, still don't know what the fuck this means. Abstraction up close. Then compares the image against that mythology rather than against Monet's actual widely inconsistent body of work. But real painters are inconsistent. And yes, they are, right? What's that? Yeah, anyone who's ever done anything that they've been actually trying to do, right? It will resonate with that one line in, what is it, Cream of the Slop? Don't look in his grotto, right? Yeah, because it turns out, again, you got to kill a lot of your darlings in your attempt to get something to be as to the point that you want it to be, right? So, yes, turns out, and this goes for not just AI producers, although AI producers have to throw away a lot of what they gen too, because it doesn't match what they're actually trying to do. Yeah, it turns out artists make mistakes. And I actually have some catalogs about that later in this thing, because it turns out if you're too perfect, you get accused of being an AI. If you're not perfect enough, you get accused of being an AI. You can't win with these people because they figured it out that it can be a weapon to be used. But anyway. Claude Monet painted loose and tight. He painted muddy and luminous. He painted exhausted rushes, obsessive, overworked, unfinished, repetitive, transcendent, and occasionally bad. Human artists are not statistical averages of their masterpieces. Ironically, the critique accuses AI of exactly the thing it itself is doing, constructing a synthetic Monetness assembled from cultural consensus rather than direct observation. Yes. Oh, I love this. I'm going to drop a follow to this man. I don't know who you are, but fucking absolutely on point. The line, AI tends to render everything at the same level of doneness, becomes unintentionally self-descriptive, because the critique itself has the same tonal flatness. Every paragraph arrives with identical confidence, identical cadence, identical rhetorical certainty. There is no moment of hesitation, surprise, discovery, revision, or emotional encounter with the work. The prose performs expertise continuously. Human criticism usually contains friction, moments where perception resists interpretation. The essay also reveals a modern bias in AI-generated criticism. It overvalues process mythology. There we fucking go. I've critiqued this shit before too in previous videos. I've talked about processionalism. Oh my god. So processionalism, remember we talked about imitativism, we talked about emotivism, and we talked about conventionalism in art, right? So those are different ways of critiquing and evaluating and defining what art is, right? Another one in the history of art criticism and art theory is processionalism. So processionalism is the idea that art is not a finished product, it is a process, right? This obviously this obviously is derived from process philosophy, which is an evil anti-human philosophy, but I digress. Processionalism just applies process philosophy to art itself, and to be fair, processionalist analysis can actually be useful. This is actually where, again, if you do painting or you do digital art or you do like music writing and you do live streams of this stuff, this is exactly what people are doing. They are like watching the process, right? And that is what the processionalist is interested in, not the finished product, but how you get from noise to denoised, actually, you know, how you to signal. So the movement from noise to signal, from potentiality reduced to actuality, right? How do you turn chaos of potential and fight it and like rein it in to an ordered, meaningful output? That is what a processionalist studies, and there is real use for processionalist analysis, right? This is actually why I really do like watching riggers and like digital artists live stream, because you can see exactly what they're doing, and then you can actually go look at how it is they do. It is also why I like speed, like what people do, like the recordings, and they speed, even if they speed it up, right? You can still, if you slow it down, get an idea of how exactly the process they're doing to make this thing works, right? Processionalism is actually a really good tool to develop skill, but it is not a final theory and can never be a final theory of the arts, because art is not a process. When I go and I pay someone for a painting, or I go and I pay someone for a book, or I go and I pay someone for like a music CD, guess what? I'm not paying for the process. I'm paying for a finished product, right? If I pay for it and I get an unfinished work, I'm going to be kind of pissed, to be perfectly honest. And rightfully so, because I'm not paying for the process, I'm paying for the final product. But processionalism can help you understand how you get from pure potentiality to the final product. But processionalists themselves, like the people who have this aesthetic theory, don't view it that way. They view, again, art as a process, not as a thing in and of itself. And they do that because if they can define it as a process and not a thing, then again, they can avoid accountability for the shitty art that they make. But anyway, so you can tell I'm a little bit annoyed by this, because art criticism is very vacuous at times, and I get very annoyed by it. Oh my god, okay, I have to go back and read some of these. Captain Rudy says, I have a 3D printer. I have a nozzle tip that's 0.04 millimeters in diameter and prints in layers that are 0.2 millimeters thick. 3D printing plus paint, just like a spray on paint. Maybe we can like start doing like a fake painting line, if we can figure out how to do that. I don't know. I don't do the 3D printing thing. That's just because I don't have time for it. Captain Rudy says, yeah, Fushigi has videos on Asmongold, Kirsha, Leaflet, and Nux. All four are absolute bangers. I will put those in the list. Fushigi says, I'm so happy Cosmic understands the big words so I don't have to. God damn it. Fushigi says, as someone who was trained on CNC machining, the entire point of tolerances is that nothing is perfectly consistent, but they can be predicted. Exactly. It's like if a CNC machine, router, right? If a machine, which I've had to work with some of these machines too. If these machines literally, you could be, some of these things, like, again, are like, because I used to work with angstrom scale production, tolerances, but again, it's still tolerances, even at angstrom scales, literally to the point where you have to use an electron microscope to really detect these things. It's still not perfect. You still need tolerances because it's not perfect. It's not perfect. If a machine that again works on angstrom scales, again, we're talking like atoms, we're talking about measurements used for atoms and molecules, right? Then what the hell makes you think that a human being is going to be perfectly consistent? This is, like, again, the person that we read was treating art as if it was like the production of some kind of abstract Platonic artist, and not an artist who lives in a concrete, imperfect reality, right? So, fucking Fushigi, Cosmic is so fucking bricked by this post. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to pretend like it's something wholesome. Captain Rudy says, it's all about programming and calibration, which are done by humans and are therefore subject to the infallibility of the person in charge of programming and calibration of the machine. Fushigi at Captain Rudy, even a perfectly programmed and set up machine has variations As humans, we've made it so the variations on the level of 0.0001, so 10,000th of an inch, but it still exists. There's entire branch of science dedicated to measuring since it always is a variable. Fujisi says it's not until you get to stuff like EDM that you get zero tolerance machinings. Captain Rudy says, and zero tolerance machining is so precise that only a few people and machines are able to accomplish it. And Kura says, the dude absolutely nailed this shit. I would agree. Yes. Fushisi says, Cosmic was working on the individual atoms level, and even then you have tolerances. Yeah. Anyway, so... so I actually like processionalism as a teaching instrument. I fucking hate it as an art theory, because it is absolutely an evil theory. But anyway... but that's because process theology and process philosophy are evil models. Let's see. I'm not going to read that. Thank you for the clarification, though. Let's see here. Notice how much of the critique depends not on the image, but on the romance surrounding the art. Yes! It's the mystification. Again, there is this mystical theory about this is mystical perception people have about artists, right? Because to a certain extent, to reduce chaos into into order, right, is kind of magical. That's why people sometimes see AI as a little bit like sorcery, because it kind of is. I literally speak words, and depending on how well I speak words for my vision, we move from, again, a cloud of pure potentiality into a concrete, again, actuality. And yeah, this mystification of the artist is a long-running thing. This is not a modern thing. People have been like bullshitting artists for a very long time, trying to romanticize them as if they're more than what they really are, which is, to be fair, a lot of the things that we call art nowadays would have historically been called trades, not art, right? Painting was at one point a trade, and furniture making was at one point considered an art. Nowadays, we consider furniture making, furniture crafting, a trade, and painting an art. So it's like it's kind of interesting how that inversion actually happened. Why did it censor Massive? Interesting. It didn't censor it on my side. So anyway, where was I? So, a specific 80-year-old man with failing eyesight standing in a garden. I forgot about this too. I actually didn't even catch this. Absolutely correct. This goes to... So there's like in literary criticism, there's a biographical criticism theory in literary criticism where you try to extrapolate, the author's life, how the author's life affected a work, and how the work, relates to the author's life. And I find it to be the most vacuous and boring of the literary theories out there, because I'm trying to study the work in itself, right? That's my entire goal if I'm doing literary criticism. I'm trying to understand how the thing in and of itself works. The most I have tolerance for this shit is intentionalism, which is only useful, in my opinion, in trying to understand if we know what the author's intention is and then we know what the final product is, how well or poorly do they actually succeed in communicating that intent to the actual reader. It's the only use that I think intentionalism really has, right? Any other use of intentionalism, I think, is absolutely, foolish. But anyway, that's just me. So, it turns out that the time for that useless degree is actually paying off, isn't it? Right? So, that sentence is emotionally powerful because it invokes biography, mortality, and authenticity. But it also reveals the central paradox. Once the painting is known to be real, the critique suddenly becomes meaningful again without changing a single pixel. Yes. Oh my god. Nothing visual has changed. Only metadata has changed. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yes. Oh my god. This man. Oh, I love this man. That means the critique was never fundamentally image-based. It was provenance-based. Moreover, I would say it was never based in reality. Right? It was always based in perception. So, a human critic can certainly be fooled too, but when humans are fooled, the error often reveals personal taste, ideological bias, historical framing, or emotional investment. When AI is fooled, the error usually reveals overfitted pattern recognition. The critique's final flourish is especially revealing. Stands 6 inches from a real Monet and it dissolves into chaos. This is an inherited art school cliche, not entirely false, but culturally recycled. The statement functions rhetorically because readers already believe it should be true of Impressionism. The critique succeeds socially because it activates familiar narratives about authenticity and genius. In other words, the text sounds intelligent because it knows what art criticism is supposed to sound like. That is the core issue. AI-generated criticism often excels at reproducing the texture of interpretation, authoritative vocabulary, historical references, balanced structure, persuasive cadence, emotionally resonant conclusions. But genuine criticism requires vulnerability to the object itself. A real critic can be surprised by a painting. They can discover they were wrong. They can change their mind halfway through looking. They can become embarrassed by an earlier judgment. They can encounter something they lack language for. This critique never risks that. It begins already knowing the answer. This is imitation. And once that assumption is inserted, every observation reorganizes itself around confirming it. Ironically, that makes this critique more AI-like than the painting it condemns. This man fucking coughing baby versus hydrogen bomb. Holy shit. Hold on. I'm bookmarking that shit. I want to return to this at some point in the future. Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, at least he gave it a fire, right? Honestly, this whole subthread is one or another kind of art, right? So, yeah. Yeah, fair enough. AKA, when you look for witches to hunt, you'll find them. Let's see. So OP puts up a real Monet, says it's AI, and this other dude plugs in a prompt to have Claude critique the supposedly fake Monet for him, and then you see Claude use Claude to applaud the AI critique. This is objectively He wasn't applauding the critique. He wasn't applauding the critique. My guy and my brother, can you not read? Anyway. AI critiquing and AI critiquing a painting it was told was AI. Okay. I mean, even if that's true, oh shit, that was the wrong button. But anyway. So, yeah, that was definitely fun. That was a rabbit hole I didn't expect to go under, right? Hold on. Alright, what are we missing in the chat? Fushizi, any sufficiently advanced technology appears as magic. Right? The old Arthur C. Clarke quote. You could also say any sufficiently analyzed magic is indistinguishable from science, which is the inverse of that principle. Kura says, lol, it censored massive in your sentence, Rudy. Oh, God. Fushizi says, I don't give a fuck about the artist or author. I only care for the works. I mean, that is a legitimate position to take, right? Ultimately speaking. Like, the artist is remembered for what he does, right? If Leonardo da Vinci didn't produce the works that he produced, would he be remembered by his name? It is his works, as much as it is the person who made it. Let's see. You can tell because I can watch anime without constantly calling out voice actors. That is true, right? Let's see. See, I'm gonna skip this guy because he already says I am no real artist, right? So not even really gonna bother with this. Let's see. Let's go with this one. Grant Beset. Oh, actually, hold on. Let's see if someone did this because I know someone. Yes, we finally got to it. So some people have started screenshotting these posts. So what did this person answer? This is Margaret, right? Depth, contrast, and cohesion are the most obvious. There's also no clear focal point. I disagree. Again, my eye is very clearly drawn to a very specific focal point in this image. That being said, post is unavailable. Fucking great, right? So, let's see. What about this one? Nope, no one archived this one. So, perfect 10 out of 10 answer. No notes. Thank you. But status is unavailable. Deleted. But luckily, again, people started archiving this shit, which they should. They absolutely should archive these clowns. Well, let's see. I don't think this is gonna top what we just went through, but the fact that it looks like shit and is shit, slop, doesn't look anywhere near like a Monet, looks exactly like someone trying to replicate the style and achieving like 20% of it. Not as vibrant as Monet's typical choices of colors. Looks dull. Deleted. Sad face. Right? It said, hey, they said it was there. But it's not. And also, by the way, let's go back to this. This person said the tweet is still there. The author just blocked you. No. No, he didn't. He did fucking delete this. Let's see. Captain Rudy says rabbit hole, more like black hole, right? Then he said at Kura, wow, lol, damn clankers, right? Let's see. Spam hate. Nah, RDL dog. Everyone just laughing at you. Hold on. Did they fucking crash out about this? Why would I do that? Hold on. It looks. I took a screenshot in case you delete it out of shame. Laugh my fucking ass off. Why would I do that? Y'all are acting like I said something crazy. If it turned out to be Monet, okay, it's shittier than other works he's done, and I. Oh my god, Luddites all really all are fake and gay. Let's look at this shit. Let's see what they actually post. PSA: don't piss off or interact with or fall for pro AI artists' posts, rage bait, engagement bait, or else they will just spam hate on you. I just blocked like 50 people laughing my fucking ass off. Have fun being pacified by AI though. Okay, we are actually dealing with someone who has we're dealing with a retard, right? Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Let's see if we got any more here. Fantastic critique. What is this? For completeness. Here we go. I got this one that has since been deleted. Let's look at this. I am an AI art enjoyer, but the longer I look at this banger, the wider the gulf grows between it and the AI version. The parent tweet lots of great comments explaining why too. AI tools are best used when used to push boundaries, not replicate existing styles. Again, turns out it was a real thing. It was real. It was not a copy. It was not a forgery. It was the thing that it was the thing, right? Oh my god. So yeah, it just keeps going. Look at this shit. It goes on and on and on and on. Again, if I went through all this, what the fuck is going on here? I present you my eye lines. The thickness denotes how quickly my eye moved. One has a sensible, meandering composition that fits the subject. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, but this was a banger I need to record for posterity. Okay, fair enough. Interesting. Okay. Game is game, as they say, right? Oh my god. At least this one tried to explain it through the fucking use of, like, eyeline tracking. I'll give him that, right? He's still retarded. He still got duped by this. One, it doesn't involve paint. Two, it required no painting skills by you. Oh, the fucking irony, right? Three, it's a copy of someone else's genius. Four, it's AI slop. Detailed enough. All the best critics block me before I can thank them. Right? Oh my god. But, yeah, so there's that. But I have other things related to this to add to this conversation, right? Because this is not a unique occurrence. This is something that is a bit of an issue in the anti-AI community. So let's move on to something. Let's see this. So I have to thank again Itami and Pasta for this shit. They didn't post tag me in this. I think they actually tagged me in here. But this is the greatest art experiment in decades. Someone needs a video about it to do a video about it. Oh wait, shit, this was where I was tagged. I'm waiting for the A Cosmic Otaku breakdown. Definitely would be a weekend video, right? So they tagged me on this on May 14th. So that was like what was that, Thursday? Actually, hold on, that's a good question. Let me check something. Yep, that was Thursday. So I am so glad that they people were archiving this shit because this was so fucking fun. Before we move on to the articles, I want to catch up with the chat, right? Let's see. Captain Rudy, I'll spam them with D's nuts. Classic, right? Fushizi, bro, everything is an existing style already, right? Kura responding to Captain Rudy, do you know what the truly hilarious thing will be? When AI is inevitably mainstream and the same people, quote unquote, will shout racism every time someone calls an AI clanker and say they were pro AI all along, rolling on the floor laughing. I was in a leftist, actually I was on VR chat with a bunch of leftists yesterday. And I made a joke because someone said clanker, and they were like, except for Neuro. Neuro's not a clanker. And I was like, yes, we have the token clanker here, right? Right? And yeah, that definitely changed the conversation quite a bit, right? Let's see. Ever seen Cosmic in pink? You know what? I think someone actually did do a render with me in pink, actually. Let's see. Fushizi says, at Captain Rudy is a recolor, a style, though. Captain Rudy says, at Kura, oh, you mean the same people who call people crazy 70 years ago for saying that black people deserve the right to vote? Well, as he Fushizi said, yeah, you know what? Democrats and leftists, right? Fushizi, let's see. That's the thing with the 100 to 200k years of human evolution. If an idea is possible, it's been had before. And Captain Rudy says, depends on who you ask. So let's see. Let's move on to this, right? We're still going to be talking about the Monet thing, but Daily Caller. Opinion. Genius art prank shows major problem with artificial intelligence. It's too good. They're learning, right? Get replaced, to all the people who are doing unethical art practices by not communicating with the fucking people paying for you when you need to do delays and stuff like this, by again like holding people's products hostage after they've already paid for it, by trying to coerce people into saying things that they want, or you'll try to attack them socially for being an art mama who doesn't like AI art. All y'all can get replaced. I don't give a shit about any of you people. But all the human artists who are actually doing the things that they do ethically and actually treating their customers with respect and actually holding themselves to the bit of grace, you will survive, even if your art isn't particularly good, because people will appreciate that. Anyway, let's go. So yeah, this is all just about this, and we already saw this, right? So I'm not gonna read this, but even the Daily Caller is admitting, yeah, this got everyone good. So let's move on to, since we've already spent enough time on this particular thing, I'm just saying this even made the news, right? So let's move on, because there's a history behind here of artists not being able to tell the difference between human-made art and AI art, and I find it really funny. So let's remember. I think we all remember this one. Artist deletes Twitter after false AI accusations. This happens more often than you'd think, right? So once again, it happened on Twitter. A Japanese artist created an adorable fan art of Mitsuri from the anime Demon Slayer. I'm not going to read. Yeah, Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba. I don't know why they put the fucking Japanese and the English together like this. But anyway. But their work was mistaken for AI-generated art. This prompted someone to claim it was AI, leading to quite the fallout. Artist deletes Twitter after false... Okay, I don't know why they did that. A few days ago, an artist known only as Soyeon P shared the fan art of Mitsuri below. Isn't it cute? However, another user, Zentrie, made annotations over the artwork claiming it was created by AI. Now, can't unsee it. And here we go, right? So, this fucking, what the smiley face, right? I mean, not the smiley face, but like the frowny face. Like, what kind of critique is that, right? So it's like the critique, at least the one with the arm. It's like, okay, I mean, I disagree with the critique, but because it could be explained by stylistic decision, but at least that has a word in there, right? Again, didn't really draw the fingers all the way to the base. Yeah, guess what? That's a common thing to do when you're doing highly abstracted art. You can see that all the time in like manga, by the way. which is, by the way, why they did this. Again, they point to the hand, redraw the hand, but slightly, again, less abstracted AI, right? Even though you can literally see all they did to make the critique work is turn the hand. They just rotated the hand in three-dimensional space to get a different view, when you could also see that exact pose if you use your own hand and just turn it. Right? You just turn it, and you can get that exact lining. So, yeah. Again, you got a circle on a tangent, you got a circle on like some shadows here, you got a circle on, again, the shadows, like the weak shadow work right here. Apparently, the leg is broken, push more, right? No ribs, again, forgetting that we're not dealing with a realistic piece, we're dealing with what's almost certainly a more abstractive and motivistic piece, right? Again, imitativism is not the end-all, be-all. So, again, just... yeah, a lot of petty art critiques, or a lot of petty art nitpicks, and apparently that's enough to prove that you're AI, right? So, oh, by the way, don't think I didn't notice the blue butterfly. Zentrie's accusation resulted in the Japanese artist receiving numerous attacks, which ultimately led them to close their account. According to a circulating screenshot, Soyeon P mentioned they had been drawing Mitsuri for the past 3 years and decided to delete their account. This is fucking infuriating, in my opinion, right? Right? You didn't live up to my standards of art, and so I'm going to nitpick you and then accuse you of doing something that we all think is highly unethical. And then we're also going to say that you didn't actually do any of the work that you actually did, right? Absolutely deplorable and vile behavior. So, after the truth surfaced that Sion P was not using AI, Zentrie became the target of backlash. As you should, to be perfectly honest, right? This was an attempt at reputation destruction, and guess what? If you try reputation destruction unjustly, your reputation should suffer the same consequences. Receiving numerous comments and community notes criticizing her actions, which contributed to the artist's account deletion. Fuya, an artist I follow and through whom I learned about the incident, shared their opinion. Literally, not a single one of these things they circled are a sign of AI. I think people who have never drawn anything in their life themselves should stop role-playing as AI police. They delete the post. They should have deleted themselves from the internet forever. I don't go this far. This is an overblown right here. They don't deserve an internet connection. Probably felt so cool drawing circles on other people's art. Yeah, no, this is a little bit too far. They should just stop being retarded, right? They should be, again, made to account for their unacceptable behavior, and then preferably their retardation should be shamed. But yeah, no, maybe not that far. And again, this is a bit of an old article, so you can see a lot of these pictures just don't exist anymore. But yeah, so yeah, we have this example. I know Kat Yente, or whatever the fuck her name is, that one T channel, talked about this. And I refused to watch her channel after the whole incident she had with Alicia X Death. But yeah, so we have historical examples of this. Here's another example. Uncomfortable tension caused by AI and artistic non-realism. Again, realism is not the end-all be-all. So, and this is about, let's see, last semester I wrote an article cautioning against overzealous accusation of using artificial intelligence in the creative process. I still stand by the broad strokes of the concerns I raised, but the longer I thought about it, the more I felt I missed the necessary point. The reality is that it's quite easy to identify AI realism. There are a lot of tells. Hands are stereotypical ones, as are confusing spelling or sudden disruptions in what should be consistent strokes. By the way, confusing spellings could also just be if someone doesn't understand the language. I've seen that happen before. Everyone has seen an anime where they've misspelled an English word in a really cartoony way, right? Let's see. Oh yeah. Sudden disruptions in what should be consistent strokes, such as a stripe or a necklace, among others. Generally, the details of the image become worse the longer you look. The image is primarily in what the issue is primarily in what I'm going to refer to as artistic non-realism, and I want to explore this relationship. First of all, what is artistic non-realism? For the sake of this article, I'll be using it to refer to art that is intentionally and actively not realistic. This includes some formal artistic movements, cubism, abstract, surrealism come to mind immediately, but also include things like caricature, chibi, many styles of 2D animation. These aren't just series of flats that mimic body forms but lack aesthetic shading, or an artist who struggles with anatomy. These are active choices to distort form as part of the art. Let's just say that these are actually like anatomical issues, right? Again, with the foot, with the shadow here in the leg, the arm, the hip right here. If you can see, there's a line showing the hip should attach closer to the waist, which is apparently not. I don't think that they actually looked at the other side. But anyway, let's just say that's all true on an anatomical level, right? Well, they're not trying to represent a human body in the real, right? It's an abstracted human form. Oops. Hold on. Hold on. Oh my god, I missed a bit. Okay, let's see. I gotta find out where we left off in the comment section. Okay, so I was past that. Let's see. Captain Rudy says that also means that nothing is truly original. Everything has been inspired by something they saw or heard and made their own interpretation of it. Kura says, I call Ben our Tolkien clanker all the time. Well, fair enough. Captain Rudy says, I was the one who made the pink render of you and the render of you in pink. Oh yeah, thank you. That was a really good render. Fushizi says, it's the Simpsons paradox. Everything has been done already by the Simpsons. Yeah. Captain Rudy says, and even then, I guarantee you 95 to 99% of everything we saw on The Simpsons was inspired by something or someone on the production team saw or heard. Yeah. Fushizi says, I absolutely love this. They are hard awakening that AI is much bigger threat than they ever fucking imagined. So much sooner than they ever thought was possible. Yep. Not always, Rudy says, not always on Twitter, but always on Twitter. Yeah. Captain Rudy says, I'll bet P equals proud gooner. Oh, God. Let's see. Fitting given where he's from. Possibly. Fushizi says, I already have the problem with the critique. Who the fuck draws the ribs in when using this style? The entire point of the style is to simplify away from realism. Exactly. It's an abstracted human form. They actually mean deletion from the internet, but that's my interpretation. It's a bit hard going, but I think it's fine. Yeah, I think they should just stop being quangos. Captain D says, exactly. Just like with movies, Neil deGrasse Tyson was once asked what he thought about the physics in Guardians of the Galaxy. He said, I bought into the idea this movie has a talking raccoon that shoots artillery from heavy weaponry off its shoulder. If I can accept that, I'm good with whatever else they delivered in the film. That's an actually unusually salient Neil deGrasse Tyson quote. Holy crap. And then Captain Rudy says, the whole point of art is to create an escape from reality. That is not the point of art. It is the point of some art. The point of art is the concretization of a metaphysic. But that's for our later time, right? So, where was I? Okay. While there's certainly a fair number of people who use the style to be pretentious, there is also a lot of real reasons it's popular. Caricature can highlight unflattering features, making it popular in satire, parody, and other forms of art that mock a target. Chibi does almost the opposite, exaggerating cute and almost childlike qualities. Surrealism can be a good way to explore themes like mental illness or invisible problems in visual media. There's a lot of potential reasons an artist might gravitate towards aesthetic non-realism. It also could just be you like how it looks, right? Let's be real. Okay, but what does that have to do with AI? Let's talk about an artist I knew in high school. They've asked to remain anonymous due to previous incidents where they were falsely accused of AI work and not wanting to relive those experiences. Their work uses surrealism to talk about their mental health experiences by making it look like their art is falling apart. This can, yeah, I mean, right, this is phenomenological, right? So, like, literally about the experience of the conscious mind, right? So it's not even psychology, it's like phenomenology. Their work uses surrealism to talk about I don't like that word to talk about, but their work uses surrealism to talk about their mental health experiences by making it look like their art is... I just read that part. My fucking god. This can include breaking lines or patterns, causing bodies parts to bend unnaturally, or messing up background details like spelling on a sign. The goal was to make something that at first glance made sense, but the longer you stared at it, the more looked wrong. Remember how I listed some common tells for AI? All of those were strategies they'd use for intentional artistic purposes in their work. Yep. Who would have fucking guessed that there might be a point to this kind of stuff, right? Let's see. Because I've seen them use these tells since well before AI image generation became common, I feel confident their work is real. Set aside any trust I place in them due to knowing them personally. As an objective matter, I don't see a world in which they could have been using AI early on. However, as AI tells have become more recognizable, they've had to ditch much of their surrealist style. It was to do something more realistic, and therefore less likely to be AI or deal with endless false accusations. And my answer to that is just tell these quangos to go fuck themselves. Right? I've also seen people literally post their processes online, and then people still call the processes AI. Now, to be fair, there are some people who have made AI process videos, right? Where it's like, again, a fake video showing the process of to fake the fact that like they made it as a digital piece themselves. That is, again, a bit of a shitty thing to do. But there's nothing wrong with making AI art, being honest about making AI art, and there's nothing wrong with making this kind of surrealist art. Hello, Play Astronomical. Oh my god. Yeah, I started recording way too fucking late. I got bodied earlier in the day. We've been talking about the Monet thing for quite a while. We moved from the Monet to other similar situations that show that, again, all of these quote-unquote art experts don't know a damn thing about what they're talking about. So hopefully you have fun, because I've been having fun ragging on these fucking quangos. Anyway. So yeah, I don't think he should have changed his art style. I think he should have doubled down on his art style and called everyone who called him, who accused him of AI, maybe call him a bundle of sticks, right? Right? Drop a gamer word, right? If they're gonna hate you anyway, give them a reason to hate you by their own standards, right? Anyway, God bless that little mouse girl. Anyway, at the start of the article, I referred to AI creating an uncomfortable tension in artistic non-realism, but I wasn't referring to the usage of AI directly. The artistic community generally is one mind about that. It's not causing a lot of tension on its own. The tension is how artists then react, being forced to abandon their styles or accept false accusations. Okay, here's the thing. This is a decision you yourself have made. Your choice was, again, avoid false accusations and abandon artistic non-realism, which, by the way, let's remember, this was decided to be AI when this was drawn by a human being, right? This is not exactly the schizophrenic, like, ramblings that were being talked about earlier. And yeah, if this is gonna get accused of being AI, then yeah, sure, your friend is gonna get accused of being AI too, but just tell them to go fuck themselves. Right? Just tell them, like, look, you didn't make the piece. You don't have to look at the piece. Go fuck yourself, right? It's not that hard. Not everyone has to like your stuff, and you don't have to bend the knee to, like, again, like, this is pure vanity. This is unironic pure vanity, right? I care about how people perceive my work, beyond what it actually is. So it's like, no, this is pure vanity, right? Correct people's mistakes about what their perception of you is, and then move the fuck on. Oh my god. So, the concerns I've heard from this artist aren't isolated. A lot of artists are leaning either more heavily into realism or other hard-to-impersonate styles. AI still struggles with Western 3D animation, for instance, making that a safer area. Personally, the last time I wrote on this, I spoke about how many use of parametric modeling was labeled as AI. I've since had to pull some of these examples from my portfolio, and I don't use parametric design as often anymore, as these concerns haven't gone away. I have other architecture major friends who use experimental rendering styles and have more or less ditched those because they were labeled AI. Again, this sounds like a personal problem. This sounds like a personal problem from someone who doesn't have the fucking chutzpah to actually stand up and say, no, I've been doing this for this length of period. Fuck you, right? This isn't that hard, right? Oh my god. The reality is, mainstream artistic movements are not under serious threat from AI. I feel fairly good about saying that. Hopefully, I'm really hoping the AI actually gets way better over time. At least for now. AI has too many tells for it to be a meaningful threat to the foreseeable future. And the reality is that, as several professional artists have told me before, any skilled person who makes a living off their art will be able to draw multiple styles and mimic most styles effectively. This is true. So artists have an option in theory. Most artists, it's not the style that is causing the art community to have a bit of an issue. The issue is, again, there is a lot of acceptance for blatantly unethical practices in the art community that I've explained multiple times before. So when artists who do these things say that AI is intrinsically unethical, they get ignored because we've literally seen the unethical practices of the mainstream art community. So we don't exactly buy the moral authority of the person making the claim, right? So anyway, I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to read the chat again. Let's see. Oh wait, where was I? Okay. Most artists I spoke to while researching this didn't seem seriously concerned about that right now. The concern seems to have shifted to displacing people who work in non-realism styles, because people, understandably, don't want to bank their careers on false accusations, but don't want to give up their method of communication ideas either. I want to see someone actually go to court with one of these false accusers and actually win in court under a potential tortious interference claim. That would be fucking absolutely amazing. But, yeah. What is this? Ooh, nice. Okay. Let me catch up with chat, right? Okay, I already read the raccoon one. Okay, so Captain Rudy says Cosmic is more cooked than a well-done steak. I have no idea what you mean by that, right? Dan H. Brown says, it doesn't matter when in history people are going to be accused of being witches. Somehow all this feels the same. Witch, racist AI user. Yeah, I would agree. Right? Play Astronomical says, it is emotional. The logic falls apart, but you must listen to them. Yeah, if you've ever dealt with, and I've had the displeasure of having to deal with this, if you've ever had dealt with a client or like an individual who has like escalated themselves up to a point of like a survival state, yeah, you can't reason with them, right? Because even if they don't think consciously they're in a life or death situation, their body is responding like they're in a life or death situation, right? So you can't reason with them until they get past that and they come down to a point where you can actually talk to them, right? So, and a lot of people are being very emotional, and part of the thing that's going on is exactly this. They are kind of in this state of like emotional, what would you call it? I just used the word excitation, right? They've been escalated to a point where they cannot calm down. This is again, an existential threat to some people. So again, they treat it as if it's an existential threat, or at least it's one in their mind. That's not a reasonable way to look at this stuff. A lot of these people could benefit if they just use this shit in part of their practice and stop being vain about it. And yes, it is vanity. It is sloth and vanity to not actually update yourself with the times because you think your way is the right way, right? But yeah, there's much to be said about that. Dan H. Brown says people love to make up a hated group because immediately begin accusing others to be part of that group without logic. Well, it's a social positioning thing, right? You get to position yourself as the good guy at the sacrifice of others, right? Let's see. Captain D says, we see that in a lot of communities, not just art, they refuse to gatekeep, they allow anyone in that wants in, and then those people do unethical shit that makes the community look bad, and then the community doubles down and defends the people making shit worse. Yeah. Captain Rudy says, if you ever heard someone say their brain is fried, cooks or more or less means the same thing. Fair enough. Dan H. Brown says, damn Quangos. Yeah, fair enough, right? Damn those Quangos. So, yeah. again, yet people doing non-realism getting accused of using AI because again, it's intentionally about breaking the rules, right? And yeah, so apparently, again, people don't understand shit about art. Here's another example. Sanji fan art sparks AI debate in anime circles. Artist Divya shared a detailed commission on May 14, where it gained over 700 likes and 2 million views amid One Piece's world top 100 poll hype, with Sanji at number 2 globally. Critics flag blurry shirt blends, shiny eyes, and awkward hands as AI tells, while mocking her quick output and commission claims. Divya defended it as hand drawing, noting conflicting AI tools. Let's see. One said 100% human. Plans time-lapse videos. The back and forth highlights shaky detectors and fandom tensions over real and generated art. So, yeah, this is actually a pretty fun post, by the way. I'm a real artist and I mog your AI slop. Which, given this right here, pick the pencil. Like, I might be the GOAT. Get a job instead of scamming. And then they post this. I think this might be a shit post, but I also don't know. Right? If this is a shit post, this is actually a great shit post. But if not, genuinely delusional, right? But yeah, so apparently, again, same website, 100% human, 98% AI generated. What the fuck are we doing here? Right? And it's not like I haven't seen artists make style, things like this. So, yeah. I don't think that this is proof that they used AI. But, who the fuck am I, right? Let's try. I keep hitting the right click on accident. Let's try another one. Professional artists spent hundreds of hours working on this book cover image only to be accused of using AI. The artist known as Ben Moran said that they were unjustly suspended from r/art for posting their art piece there. Oh, and by the way, r/art also apparently had mods power tripping and basically saying if you don't want your art deleted from r/art, then don't make pieces that look like they could be AI. That's like, you fucking idiots. All right. Anyway, but then again, it's Reddit. What would we expect? Reddit is a hive of scum and villainy, right? Let's go on. So, this is the piece, by the way. Lovely piece. But yeah, for 100 hours working on his book cover, and apparently, people accused him of using AI. Min An Win. It's not Nguyen, it's Win. Huang. Okay, I don't know if I pronounced that one right. 30 is the lead artist at the 3-year-old Cart Studio, which is based in Vietnam. Huang, who creates art using the name Ben Moran, learned to draw properly in 2019 after finishing a degree in economics. Once again, another example of someone getting a degree and then getting a job in something else, right? I know that pain. Drawing was just my hobby when I was a child, Moran said in conversation conducted via email because they felt less confident in their spoken English. I started getting serious about painting when I realized I could be good at it. The artists that mainly inspire me are Ruan Jia, Huang Guangjian, and Pietro. Oh, that's definitely a Polish name. Is it Yabwanski? Yabwanski? I think the L with a slash through it is a W sound. All contemporary fantasy illustrators. Moran is now at the center of a Reddit controversy thanks to a piece they were commissioned to produce for $500 for the... And by the way, yeah, if you need art, hire a foreign artist, by the way. They charge less. For the cover of one fantasy fiction author's Selkie Myths book. By the way, Indonesia has a good track record when it comes to artists, better than America or Japan. Myth plans to use it for his forthcoming 11th title, which he said is likely to be called Mandate of Heaven. If there was ever a Chinese-sounding novel name, this was it. I've ordered a lot of artwork with Moran because they are very, very good at what they do, said Myth, who is 31 and lives in Nebraska. They are an absolute steal for that quality of commercial use. In late July, Myth contacted Moran via email asking them to produce a work that would prove so contentious. The final piece, chosen from 4 options, was produced on September 7th and modified by Moran to Myth specifications. The cover design was done by mid-October. It takes me a month to fix and complete, said Moran. And here, again, actually gave a timeline and actually did it on time. Oh my god. In late December, Moran, an infrequent Reddit user, decided they wanted to do some self-promotion, so they posted the close to final design of the piece, titled A Muse in a Warzone, to r/art, a subject with 22 million members. They were quickly banned from the subreddit by the subreddit moderators on suspicion of using AI-generated art, which is against r/art's rules. Now, this rule is fine, right? It's fine to, like, again, determine what your rules are in your community, and if you want only human-made art in your community, that's fine. But I have a sneaking suspicion if I put a painting made by an elephant with a brush, they might accept that. Just pointing that out. Even though I think that this rule is dumb, they can again define their own rules. It's their own community. When Moran contacted the moderators to explain that they had not used AI, sending them a link to their portfolio, they were blown off. I don't believe you, a mod wrote in a message Moran posted on Twitter. They went on to say that even if Moran had painted it, it's so obviously an AI-prompted design that it doesn't matter. The moderator signed off the message with, "Sorry, it's the way of the world." Then they muted Moran, preventing them from making their case further. It is just the way of the world. I'm sorry, the way of the world is that people like you get replaced by AI. And I'm not exactly gonna, like, I'm not exactly gonna feel bad for you, right? Anyway, let's catch up with the chat a little bit. Let's see. I guess I already read that part. I read that part. Okay, here we go. Play Astronomical says, I has become an in-group test in ways, right? or it, right? Yeah, it has become an in-group test in ways. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, Reddit, the same website that had to remove an entire Pragmata subreddit because people were submitting NSFW art of Diana. Yeah. Anyway. But let's not get into that can of worms, right? Anyway, Reddit again, hive of scum and villainy. So here we go. Direct tweet from the guy. We are in a world which real artists is being punished because he's the victim of these thief called AI artists. Yeah, this guy has no idea how AI art works. But anyway, let's look at the image. Or actually, I guess we're going directly to the tweet, right? And how funny is it that someone who, like, again, has been promoting AI art is now having to defend a person who hates AI art, right? Anyway, so let's read this. Complain about the permanent ban. So let's see what they actually read. They posted, I'm the artist of a painting, A Muse in Warzone. I'm here for complaining about the unfair ban. I can give you guys the process or the PSD file of that painting. I'm not using any AI supported and that punishment is not right. Sorry for my bad English and thank you for your time. Here's my portfolio. Take a look. And then the moderator said, I don't believe you. Even if you did paint it yourself, and paint is in quotation marks, it's so obviously an AI-prompted design that it doesn't matter. If you really are a serious, quote-unquote, artist, then you need to find a different style because A, no one is going to believe when you say it's not AI. So here we have style policing. And B, the AI can do better in seconds what might take you hours. Fucking cunt move, right? Sorry. Is the way of the world. And then immediately you have been temporarily muted from r/art, so you will not be able to message the moderators of r/art for 28 days. Just what a dichotomy of man, right? In me there are two wolves. One, no one is going to believe you when you say it's not AI, and two, the AI can do better in seconds what might take you hours. What a fucking what an outlandish situation, right? So, The moderators of r/art did not respond to the message from BuzzFeed News, and yes, sorry, I'm reading BuzzFeed right now, seeking comment on why Moran was banned and why they didn't give Moran the chance to prove their work was not AI generated. I can tell you why. Because they're a Reddit mod and they have a god complex. Myth, who runs his own mid-sized subreddit, focuses on Magic the Gathering, believes that the mod was being a jerk, but also operating in a difficult environment where AI-generated art is swamping public spaces and drowning out human-made work. I don't think the art is too good to be true. Wait, I don't think the art is too good to be true. Okay, so much as Moran draws in a popular style, said Myth. Moran's piece is one that AI could generate passively, but it didn't. And Moran has receipts, including layered Photoshop files, which AI couldn't create, and iterative designs. Which, by the way, as if anyone is doing AI art and they want to troll, figure out a way to do layered files, right? Figure out a way to do with layered files. Maybe that should be the next art project for an AI artist, right? Make a realistic AI-generated Photoshop file, right? Absolute trolls. Let's see. Moran said their interaction with the mods caused mixed emotions. On the one hand, they said, I was happy because honestly, the AI is so powerful. Those artworks are incredible. Like me, AI art is learning from the best, but better, faster. Being compared to with AI art means my work is kind of good. At least he can take it on the chin. By the way, on the one hand, they're thieves. On the other hand, they're learning from the best, but better and faster. Which one is it? Right? We have an inconsistent claim here, and you see this all the fucking time with these anti-AI people who can't seem to understand how the thing works. Play Astronomical says, putting paint in quotes, these Fedora tippers really have some narcissism on another level. Remember, they all think they are better than you. Oh yeah, no, I am aware. I've had to deal with Reddit before. I had instances on Reddit where I had a real technical question. I was like, look, here's the question I have. And then I made an error in the question, and then, there's no grace that a lot of these people have, right? Let's see. On the other hand, Moran also felt a sting. After all, they had spent more than 100 hours working on a piece with Myth. I want to show my my hard work to the community, they said, and it's being accused of being AI work is just like telling me that I am a random guy and all my job is just typing some words to have painting in 1 or 2 hours. Let's see, a number of other subreddits, and again, it depends on who it is. Like, yeah, you can generate some stuff in just like a brief time, but sometimes, again, especially if you see some of the higher end content creators, sometimes these people can spend, hours and hours and hours and hours actually trying to make something, right? I think Skybro said one time he spent like 300 hours on one project. I was like, damn, holy shit, right? Anyway, maybe I'm misremembering that, but I do know, I think someone else in the community said that like they spent 30 hours on like a 3-minute video, and I was like, yeah, sounds about right. So, let's see. So, yeah, so long story short, you know what? Fuck it, we're already here. We might as well finish this. Actually, where are we? Where in this are we? Okay, yeah. A number of other subreddits have covered the controversy, and users rallied around Moran. The level of mod abuse is absolutely shocking, one Redditor wrote. It's not just that the artist was wrongly banned, it's that when they appealed, the mod doubled down, called them a liar, and insulted their artwork. Again, because they have the enlightenment, the secret knowledge, right? You can't use your empirical, lesser knowledge to challenge them. Let's see. For a short time, the mods of r/art made the subreddit private, claiming they were being brigaded. And brigaded is just people complaining that you're pointing out you're being stupid, or attacked by other subreddits. Moran remains suspended from r/art for now, and the controversy continues to roil. There is a really simple solution, Myth said. Unbanning him says that what they did was wrong, and maybe even making a post saying, oops, we made a mistake, would fix things so fast and get people saying, okay, they made a reasonable mistake. Why the mods aren't doing that is beyond Myth's comprehension. It's because they're prideful, right? It's because they're arrogant. Let's be perfectly honest. They don't want to admit that they were wrong, and cartoonishly wrong at that, right? Not least because it's making things worse. What's getting a lot of people riled up is the sheer stubbornness and ass-hattery. What a word, right? Going on here. I'm going to use this word more often, ass-hattery. As for what Moran wants to happen, it is by far their own admission, not much. I just want to have permission to post my art like all of the people in that subreddit, they said. I don't need any apology from them. I just want to protect my right to be a human artist, that's all. Now, they can't really take away your ability and right to be a human artist, right? If he's really complaining about, again, the false accusation, which is a legitimate thing to complain about, right? Because that's a potential career-destroying move if you refuse to use AI and you want to do pure human-generated stuff, and then someone comes along and accuses you of using AI gen. Well, a large part of your customer base is invested in you because you do human work, and if you're being accused of using AI, that can absolutely alienate you from your customer base. So again, I think people should be able to probably take people to court for these kinds of claims if it actually results in reputational damage, right? It's just my opinion. Okay, so Captain Rudy says, I wonder if it was the same Reddit mod that went viral a few months ago for crashing out after getting his mod privileges taken away. Funniest possible shit could happen, right? I really hope that was the case, because if that's the case, that is just so fucking great. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, have you seen Shoe on Head's video about Pragmata? I have. I will probably do a commentary on that video at some point, but I'm probably going to do it through Actual Justice Warriors video, because he makes a comment about one of the things Shoe says in there, which I think is really important. Because Shoe makes one really asshat statement where it's like, all right, you have no idea what you're talking about in this subject, but everything else in this video is spot on. Let's see. It was 150 hours, and that he spent making his video going to be 150 hours for a 5-minute, 42-second video. Yeah, that's a real, again, 100. So half of the time I suggested is still 150 hours. That's still multiple days of work on one video that's 5 minutes and 42 seconds, right? And people want to say that these products have no effort or work put into them, right? It's just cope and seethe. Again, they know how dangerous this is to their position, because again, they refuse to treat their customers as, you know, respectful clients, right? Anyway, Captain Rudy says, even if that book cover was done with AI, do they know how long of a prompt you need to type out in order to get an image like that? People are out here typing out whole ass novels just to make enough prompts to make a short video. Yeah. Dan H. Brown says, needs to be more lawsuits against Reddit mods like H3H3 did. Oh, I hope H3H3 fucking takes a bunch of people down. I'm not a big fan of Ethan, but I'm totally supportive of him. I think he's totally in the right with this. Kura says, sadly, I think he was a LSF mod. Fuck. Right? Alright, we already covered this part. So yeah, we have, again, I'm not going to watch this video, but she talks about, again, an AI artist being accused of using AI. I'm not a big fan of Cat and Chat because, again, the stunt she pulled with Alicia X Death. And if you want to know about the Alicia X Death thing, you can go to Alicia X Death's channel because she has a video on it. But she doesn't like people talking about that directly. I'm not going to talk about that because, again, she doesn't like people talking about it. She doesn't want to be known for the thing that Kat ended up talking about. So, respect her, boundaries kind of deal. So, now we get into r/defending AI art. I know. I was just talking shit about Reddit, but r/AI art actually does have some useful stuff in it, right? Including documentations of examples of like actual anti-AI terrorism, such as people shooting up, places specifically because they are hosting AI data centers, which the news has not exactly been reporting on. Let's see. Dan says, seems so to me. Slander isn't used enough here. Agreed. Not sure if Captain Rudy says, not sure if you follow Keen on Twitter, but he made a group photo last week of like 3 dozen Skybros using only text prompts, no reference images. He said it was like 3,000 words in total. Oh my god. You'd only need to make 25 prompts like that to equal a novel. Right. Good God, man. I have to. Keen should do a video showing his process, right? I think all of us should do a video showing at some point the actual process of making a finished piece that we actually like. Because again, you can see on like live streams, if I go to a Honey Goblin stream, and I still love Honey Goblin, even though she doesn't know damn thing about AI, and she has the objectively wrong stance on AI. It's always been my rule that everyone gets their own their one retardation, right? I would hope that someone would have enough grace for me that if I was retarded on one subject, that they would allow me the grace to be wrong on something, right? So that again, nothing, it doesn't necessarily devolve into a purity spiral, right? But that being said, like she does the whole thing. She does process streams where she does the rigging work on stream. It's another thing with like Giratia. Love Giratia's work. She did some like stuff where she posted like again the little watermark that says no, do not train with AI. She can't really do anything about that. I think these people don't really fully understand how these networks are trained and how this material is acquired, but I digress. But she's a good artist. I actually have a number of Giratia's posters, and yeah, she does like again digital painting. And she streams the process. I've seen people stream like again pencil drawing. I've seen people stream like actual painting. I've seen people stream all kinds of shit, 3D modeling. I've seen people like stream all kinds of artistic media. I think we should encourage some of our guys to actually start streaming some of the AI prompting mechanisms to show like exactly how it functions. But hold on, a couple more things in the chat just happened. Sakura says the jazz song took me 2 weeks, 8 hours a weekday, 14 hours on the weekends and Mondays. Yeah, again, it's like that Denoise the Black Cathedral for me was not exactly a quick song to make. But also I think the way I prompt for some of the other songs might also help to reduce some of the time. Let's see. Captain Rudy says, yeah, Skybro spent 150 hours on a video and he still has a day job. Talk about dedication. Yeah, again, for the love of the game, right? Play Astronomical says, in the Cord, often people like Keeney stream their video making. I should get a setup at some point and be able to do the same. I mean, I know that we like stream it in the Cord, but we should probably be releasing some of this material out into the public, right? Because it's opaque unless actually demonstrated, and it would probably be better if people could actually see the process themselves, just like again people could see the process of again a live stream for like digital painting, right? Or a live stream of a musician in a band, like working through the process, because that would again help to clear up for anyone who's actually interested in learning about this stuff what is actually going on. Play Astronomical says, currently, I use my personal device, so I would risk accidental dox if I tried right now. That's entirely fair. Don't do that. Do not dox yourself, right? Oh my god. So let's go here. AI art panic. The anti-AI art community is killing art by Mikhail Love. So, the internet has turned into a battlefield where real artists face groundless accusations daily. Last year, judges wrongfully disqualified an Australian photographer from a competition after falsely claiming her genuine work was AI generated. This story represents just one example of many similar cases. So, again, this is a photographer. Okay, this thing loads, right? This is a photographer. They don't actually even have the picture in here. Fuck. Okay. Yeah. The drama surrounding AI art online has grown out of control. AI and anti-AI art groups now bully innocent creators off platform. A single post that wrongly accuses an artist got over 8 million views and 176,000 likes within days. These attacks don't just hurt individual artists, they damage our creative community's spirit. Artists can't even share their work anymore without someone pointing to tiny flaws as proof of AI AI use. The growing mistrust threatens both artistic expression and our community's unity. I don't give a damn about the community's unity. But, yeah, so we have this article here, this citation. Let's move over here.
This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the best all-in-one platform for all of your
Again, yeah, Duchess Celestia talks about, you know, this stuff.
Holy cow, guys. This is...
Artist bullied off Twitter. Oh, yeah, guess what we were just talking about, right? Okay, apparently they linked that same article twice. I don't know why they did that. Let's see. Here we'll examine why people are panicking, how AI art detection tools lead to false accusations, and they do, right? And why standing up to artistic bullying is vital. Support artistic freedom means we reject these baseless attacks on creators regardless of whether they use AI or traditional tools. And he's right? So, found the post if you want to see for yourself. Okay. Oh, yeah, hold on. Is this the thing about the... Let's go here. If the damn paste function, here we go. Yeah, so we're getting close to the thing I wanted to point out. 37 characters, 0 reference images, 3,312 words, single gen. I'll do a clean version. Just wanted to see if I could do this anyway. Damn. This looks like it was a fucking nightmare to make. I mean, obviously, right? 3,312 words. All of them had to have been consciously, like, chosen and with some understanding of how they interact with each other and how the AI interprets it, right? Good lord, man. This makes me want to get into genning. Okay, let's go back here. So the emotional cost of being falsely accused. We all fucking already know the emotional cost, right? Let's see. What's driving the panic? Because we kind of already know what's driving the panic. Fear of job loss and automation, misunderstanding how the AI tools work, rise of anti-AI movements, false accusations hurt the entire art community. Yeah, it discourages innovation and style. Yeah, chilling effect, new young artists, because again, new burgeoning artists can be really discouraged really quickly. Cancel culture is not the answer. I mean, obviously so, right? Let's see if we can find... let's see. This is the one that I'm definitely going to get to, because this one is actually a pretty good post, too. So, yeah. So, this article says anything that, like, most of us who've, like, been in these AI art communities say is already aware of, right? So, we already talked about stories of artists being bullied off platforms. Let's see. Yeah, we just talked about this story right here. Let's see. Oh, there's another one here. Game Studio had to defend their little droid cover art publicly after... Oh, I think that was the image we just saw, actually. Yeah, okay, so this is the little droid image that was... so this is actually for a video game. So apparently this was actually made for a video game at the stages of drawing art cover. Yeah, again, people still probably call this AI. Interesting. I actually just found out about this. This was not part of my collective things to use. So, how AI art drama fuels fear. Artists have changed their creative processes because of this anxiety. One creator had to give up most of their surrealist style. I just fucking talked about this. Let's see. There's an architecture example. Oh, wait, that's the same article. Okay. Creators now face tough... Okay, yeah. So this is just condensing a lot of this stuff I basically said, which is a little bit annoying because I kind of wanted there to be more here. Is that a Gengar twerking? Okay. Dan H. Brown says, yes, more bullying from the leftists. Bring more young artists to the dark side. Turn more of them into AI enthusiasts, right? I mean... What's that old adage? Never stop your enemy when he's in the middle of making a mistake, right? This is good tactics, right? Let's see. At this rate, we'll soon have real artists fake their art as AI art when they were real art. Lol. I mean, fair, right? That's a good troll. I kind of want to see more people do that. Troll the antis this way, because it shows how much of a dickhead and like how much of a dunce they are. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really think we're going to get anything new out of this particular article. We're already doing the building supportive art communities thing in the SCU and Red Veil. Okay, let's go to the conclusion and see if there's anything like that they've concluded differently, because it seems like we've already talked about. Oh my god, right? Let's see. False AI accusations don't just hurt their direct targets, they threaten our entire creative world. Artists now abandon their unique styles and experimental approaches because they're afraid. This fear-driven narrowing of artistic expression might be the saddest result of all this vile and disgusting anti-AI assholery. Artists have always picked up new tools throughout history, from camera obscuras to Photoshop. Despite facing pushback at first, AI is just the newest technology in this development. All the same, today's climate of suspicion has moved away beyond healthy skepticism into a harmful zone that holds back new ideas and diversity. Each falsely accused artist is a real person with feelings. Yeah. Again, one, they know about this and they want to hurt your they want to hurt your feelings. They want to crush your dreams. They want to actually denigrate your years of practice. Let's not be bullshitting about this, right? They do this because they're evil, right? Or because they're scared and they want to hurt you. There's only really two options here. I mean, they could be also just incorrect. If they're ignorant of the subject matter, that's one thing. But a lot of these people are maliciously motivated. So their suffering is real. The creators need spaces where they can express themselves without worrying about baseless attacks. We can build better community despite these challenges. Let's stop making snap judgments and start asking questions. Take a closer look at evidence, approach unusual artwork with curiosity instead of doubt. I just popped my hip. Let's see. Just popped my elbow. Their great art often breaks the rules. They shouldn't automatically lead to AI accusations. Yeah, so the conclusion basically is the same as the one I have too. So let's go down to here, because this is one that caught my eye earlier, right? So I've been making art most of my life. Drawing, painting, digital work, it runs in my family. Long before AI was a thing, I spent years sharing my pieces online on online art forums, Discord groups, and other communities. What I learned the hard way is that those spaces weren't really built for creativity or growth. That is true, right? Leftist art communities are not actually built for that. They were built for conformity. Yes, for pushing the message, right? And I can count how many times I got comments like, we don't shade like that here, or worse. One person even accused me of being a pedo because I drew an anime-style girl. It didn't matter what my intent was or what emotion I was trying to capture. All that mattered was whether my art fit their narrow vision of what what was acceptable. Over time, I realized something sad. Many self-described artists aren't protecting art, they're protecting their territory. He is absolutely right about this, right? This is absolutely correct. Everyone is dancing in the chat, and this is definitely an unexpected turn of events, right? But yes, no, they are absolutely right. They are protecting their territory. Not just their own position in the art community, but literally the Gramscian left is protecting their territory in the sense that they're protecting their control over the means of cultural production, right? We don't do that here. Why? Because it doesn't push the message that we culturally want to push. So that kind of gatekeeping and arrogance kills creativity far more effectively than any new technology ever could. And that's why Hollywood died, right? That's why Hollywood can't compete with Japan. Let's see. When I started using AI to make and release music, the difference was night and day. Suddenly, people cared about the work again, the atmosphere, the message, the feeling it gave them. Musicians I talked to didn't sneer when I mentioned AI. They were curious, even impressed. They asked questions, wanted to learn more. The community around AI tools feels the way art should have always been. Open, experimental, and collaborative. And he is absolutely right. This is one of the reasons why I love the fucking community that I'm in with all these AI artists, is because it is exactly the community I wanted to see with real human artists, to be perfectly honest. And now that I get to see real AI artists, because they're both real artists, see how I snuck that in there, I at least get that with the AI community, even if I don't get that with the human community. I'm just saying, right? The AI has unironically brought out the best in people using it and the worst in people who don't want to use it. Let's see. Where was it? Okay, yeah. AI didn't take the soul out of my art. It gave me back for the freedom to explore it without judgment or elitism. So when I see people claiming AI is killing art, I can't help but think back to all those forums and gatekeepers who made creating feel like walking on eggshells. Art has always evolved through tools from brushes to cameras to Photoshop, and every generation has people who panic about the next evolution. But the truth is, art doesn't die when the tools change. It dies when communities become hostile and closed. AI isn't the threat. Gatekeeping is. And I would agree. Yeah. Again, art is free speech. It is. Art is the concretization of a metaphysic. That's why it must be protected even in the forms we don't particularly like, right? Okay, so I did that one. So Kuro says, yep, Gengar twerking things out, and then the Smug Alana rainbow dance, yeah. Fucking Gengar shaking what his mama gave him, Captain Rudy. And then more Smug Alana dancing by Kura, Captain Rudy. Cosmic out here popping like a bowl of Rice Krispies. Right? Every joint in the body cracks. It's like, oh no, I've become old. Captain Rudy says, you're showing your age there, bud, right? Dan Brown says, at risk of sounding cheesy, I want to thank all the SCU artists out there for all their hard work bringing wonder, joy, and beauty. Please don't let these touch bags sway your creative endeavors. Oh, absolutely not, right? Like, oh my god. The fun, the passion came back after years of it being gone, largely because of the AI community. Oh my god. See, Dan Brown says, I mean this unironically, thank you. And then he corrects touchbags to douchebags. I mean, considering some of the stuff that, like, the people that they listen to, like Hassan Piker says, I mean, it's not exactly a stretch to use the other phrase, right? But anyway. We may never know what happened in Germany in that day, but, you know, with Hassan Piker. But, you know, it's not my place to speculate. So, I mean, I think this is also a fair thing. There's a stark difference between art communities and online art communities. Yeah. I think this is actually a fair point, right? But having actually been in online art communities, also they gatekeep the hell out of the right. So, or at least they do when I last was involved in any of them. So yeah, this largely sums up a lot of what I was just talking about. But I have another example, a new example of retards online, or specifically one retard online. I saw this and I was like, I have to add this, right? Not being able to tell AI from human generation. Here we have Y saying, I hate that this is clearly instead of an AI upscaled image, and I cannot for the life of me find the higher resolution original. It's not on any of Yo's secret Pixiv or DeviantArt accounts either that I know of. And this is the example picked from old internet, by the way, right? Now, I immediately recognized this piece because I've fucking loved this piece to death since it first came out, right? Partly because I also have a soft spot for Powerpuff Girls Z, and I'm telling you, in the power scaling community, or like these girls are being slept on, right? They're way more powerful than some people give them credit for. Also, bad English dub notwithstanding, the Japanese is actually just a fun series, right? Like, I actually just unironically quite like Demashita Powerpuff Girls Z, but yeah, they claimed this was a fake, but on Danbudu, right? Just pointing this out here. Let's go to Danbudu. What do I see here? From what is it? Pak Ji, and then like Pak Ji Young, I think that's how you say it. over 17 years ago. Now, correct me if I am wrong. Correct me if I am wrong. I don't remember the AI being able to produce anything of this quality. And by the way, yeah, the original version is actually significantly larger. But I don't remember the AI being able to produce anything like this 17 years ago. Just, is it that hard to put an image in a Google reverse image search? Right? Oh my god. But, yeah. So, I love this piece to death, to be perfectly honest. But, man, I've loved it to death for literally years, but, yeah, apparently, this broke some people's brains and made them think it was AI. But, you know, if you wanted to know, this is some of the other work you can find on Danburu of the artist who actually made this piece. So, it's all good art. And, just the whole thing about anatomy errors, right? I just got to point out, Berserk, chapter 100, this woman has, again, 6 fingers. And you find this a lot in, like, shoujo manga, too, especially, like shoujo manga that's produced on a crunch, right? You'll have, like, especially errors in, like, the number of fingers on a hand happen more often than you think it would. So then sometimes manga has to be retracted so it can be updated and fixed. But, yeah. What do we have here? Here we go. Kura says, just wait till Monday, brother. My response to this whole thing will be dropped low. Fair enough. Fushizi says, imagine being told what you can and can't do. Truly. Like, we were supposed to live in the land of the free, right? Just saying. So Play Astronomical says at Dan, not to speak for everyone, but we appreciate it. It's harder without the support of many like you, and I would agree. Support your local SEU like creator. They do, and they actually appreciate it. Play Astronomical says, speaking of good trolls, grabbing old arts like this and accusing it of being AI, then watching all the people who say they can tell lose their mind. Yeah, actually, that would probably make a good troll. We didn't even have neural nets back then. Exactly, right? Fushizi? Oh my god. Play Astronomical says, Fushizi in chat. Fuck! Yeah, just I wanted to talk about this. I know Isom, for example, by the Rippaverse, was accused of using it. They didn't, by the way, but they were accused of using AI art in one of their Isom comics, which they don't. Like, Rippaverse is very clear; they do not use AI, and I have no reason to believe that they don't. But you know, sometimes there are just errors in art, and you know, again, they were accused of using AI in their art at one point because of just errors that happened in their, you know, in some of the art of the panels, right? It's nothing particularly egregious, but, you know, it happened, and people will do that. If they don't like you, they will use any imperfection in what you produce to claim you're an AI art, you know, an AI artist, and if it turns out that they don't like you, they will use your perfection to claim you're inauthentic. So either way, they will accuse you of being inauthentic by either highlighting your deficiencies as a creative or highlighting your perfections as a creative. So it's a tool that they can use to attack both sides. But yeah, I think that this Luddite bullshittery is absolutely gonna not sustain itself. I think it's going to crash and burn, and I don't particularly care that it's going to crash and burn. I want it to crash and burn. So yeah, I was supposed to be on significantly earlier than this, and yeah, no, it's just things happen, right? So that'll be it for this episode. So if you're watching on YouTube, y'all say, you know, thank you for dropping by, and I will see you next time. Okay, so the recording is stopped. And I do think that that'll probably be it for the live stream as well. So I'll pick up this stuff next week. Not next week, but like tomorrow. My God, my brain is just all over the place. And we got so many people dancing in the chat, man. Fucking Captain Rudy's got, how many of these people? He got fucking Leaflet. He got, let's see. Who the fuck is Serena? Okay. Got a cat twerking. What the fuck is going on here? Okay, now that's disturbing. Oh, we got a powder in here. Lusty Links, yeah, fair enough. Holy crap. These are a lot of people dancing. Oh, there's a flesh tuber in here. Cancel. Anyway, right? So, okay. So I'm gonna figure out who to raid. I still haven't figured out because I didn't have the time to look it up earlier, the YouTube or the Kick thing. Hopefully tomorrow I will be able to get that up as soon as possible for like rating on Kick or YouTube. But I will put wherever we're rating in the chat. That way, again, if anyone wants to join, they can. But just give me a moment. I got to see who's on, preferably someone in the community, right? If there's not anyone in the community, I'll pick someone, but hopefully I think someone in the community will be available. Let's see. Okay, that's actually not where. Here we go. Stream manager. Let's go to raid. Go following. Ooh, Mama Oko's on. No problem, Dan. And no problem. Good night, Play. It's just I still got to find where I'm sending everyone. Alright, so just let me get a check to see who are the options for right now. Ooh. Lots of flesh tubers, right? I'm not a big fan of flesh tubers. I like watching cartoons. Ooh. Okay, not necessarily part of the community, but she is a bit of a sweetheart. How the fuck long did Lucia die? She's been sleeping for like 12 fucking hours. Okay, let's see. It's only kind of Obake pa. Oh my god. You know what? My inner troll actually, hold on. My inner troll, because Obake Pam, and here's the thing, I love Pam to death, right? I don't get the chance to watch her streams very often, but Pam, you know, the Play Asia girl, I actually love her streams to death. I think she's a decent VTuber, right? But she is definitely an anti-AI VTuber. And it is taking so much in me not to just send the chat to Obake Pam to just like love bomb her and then just like be like, hey, yeah, the AI bros must support Pam, and just like make the most confusing situation possible on like X. We could probably do that as like a troll, but that might be a little mean. Let's see, Leaflet's on. The X count is on. Yes. Let's see. Oh, sorry about that, Road. Yeah, the stream is basically over. The stream should be on YouTube soon, and I did make a video, like an episode recording this, so that's definitely going to be a bit of a lengthy episode, right? Because it's about a lot of stuff. Let's see. So the X count is available. We have Leaflet available. I'm gonna avoid going for. Is Rana in the community? Well, AI Raider. Oh. Oh yeah, I got an affiliate. Yeah, I actually got it on Thursday. I knew I was gonna be able to get it on Thursday. I was like, hold on. I went in there knowing, like, with the disposition of we are getting it today, and luckily my faith in was rewarded in that area, at least, right? Iafi is another one who does process streams. She's on right now. She is definitely against AI, but she also does lewd art, so I'm not exactly going to send us there. What the fuck? It doesn't... General Gravy is not showing up on my stream. Oh, wait, hold on. Is Rana Itia? Is that the one? Hold on. Let me check. Captain Rudy has redeemed send highlight message on Twitch. What the fuck? Okay, wait, hold on. Why is it not showing me the highlighted message if that's the case? That doesn't make any sense. Hold on, let me check something. Well, I know Rana is Leaf's BFF. I just want to make sure that that's actually her. Hello, Amity. We're actually in the process of figuring out who it is we're going to raid. What was the highlighted... Okay, I don't know what the highlight was for. You redeemed a highlighted message, but I don't know what it was for. You know what? Fuck it. We're going to go with Rana, right? Leaflet's BFF, so let's go show Leaflet's friend some love, eh? As much as it is, I want to troll Pam for the stupid take she had earlier today. I think it's probably more important that we show like love for the other people in these communities than, you know, just shitting on people who just made a stupid mistake, you know, made a stupid statement, right? General Gravy is one. I'm gonna make sure that I'm subscribed to him, that I'm like actually following him, because I'm pretty sure I hit the follow button when we went to like last time I checked him out, but for some reason he didn't show up on my thing. All right, so I'm gonna start the raid, and I am going to make sure that I copy this link and send it in the chat. Okay, let's make sure that this works. Okay, that should work. So start raid. And I've sent the link into the chat. So if anyone on Kick or YouTube wants to follow the Twitch folk, click on that link and we can raid Rana together, I guess, right? Okay. I don't know why it makes me wait so long, because usually if I'm deciding... Right, hold on. Lol, my highlighted message asked if there are any goblin girls we can... Okay, fair enough. I mean, if Honey Goblin was on, I would definitely raid her, even though, again, she hates AI art. But that's just because, like, again, she's wholesome, and it's like, look, we could forgive the anti-AI retardation because of how wholesome Honey Goblin otherwise is, to be perfectly honest. Skybrow's Pippa Play... You're right. Alright, you know what? Actually, fair enough. If we ever do raid anyone for being anti-AI, we need to do the Pippa playbook of it's okay to be gay, right? We need to show them the love that they do not expect. So, you have a good night, Rod. Alright, we have raided Rana. So, y'all have a lovely day.
Oops. Obviously the answer is machine gun crystals.